Welcome to Surgeon Syndicate. If you're paying attention, you know that you only make money when you work. It might be great money, but it's dependent on you. The information on this podcast will help you solve that. We interview experts and provide analysis into financial freedom through commercial real estate. Why? To help physicians like you thrive. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Surgeon Syndicate. This is your host, Dr. Michael McManus. We're here today with Dr. Harry Nima Zegarra, and we've been discussing different avenues to help doctors learn about investing in commercial real estate. This is not a solo sport. It's something we do together. So let's dive back in and talk a little bit more about some of the different resources that are available to doctors. This has been something that I see with a lot of docs when they find paid services like this. They get very nervous about masterminds and such. And I think it goes back to the moment. I think the day after I graduated from medical school, I got the first call from some stockbroker in Miami who was like, "Oh, you're a doctor now. I want to sign you up." Little did they know that I was broke. You had a bunch of debt, and you were getting a job as a resident, basically making minimum wage. But there was this, like, somebody trying to sell you something right off. And so I think docs get nervous about that. Have you had other doctors ask you about the mastermind and be like, "Hey, like we're doing now, how did you get involved in this? What did you think of that?" And what do you tell them? Do you find that they're nervous about the idea of spending money for this learning?
No, absolutely. And it's a big investment, right? These masterminds are very expensive, right? And even for high paid professionals or physicians, it's a big amount of money, right? So one of the things is that I always say to people is I'm very transparent about this. If you want to start in real estate and don't necessarily want to pay for a mastermind, you absolutely can do it. It's just another route, right? You maybe need to spend a little bit more time and effort to educate yourself and to network and to find the right people, but you can do it. Doing a mastermind is just a way to maybe accelerate a little bit more things and also to get access to this network of people who are already doing these deals or these projects. But it's not like a magic thing, right? It's not that again, and this is important for anyone who wants to get into commercial real estate or who wants to join a mastermind. It is not that you're going to join the mastermind and automatically, right? You're going to do everything and you're going to, everyone is going to come to you. You still need to do your part. You still need to do a lot of work, right? You need to be out there and be of service and doing things with other people. They are not going to come to you. So just have that in mind, right? Because so many people pay for a mastermind and they think, oh, I'm going to have a deal tomorrow or the next week or in 2 months and it's successful. And then after a year, they're disappointed, right? So again, they need to think about that. They're paying for the access and faster education and direct specialized education, but they still need to do their part. Absolutely. And it takes time and effort, but yeah.
Well, it's an interesting thing because in the mastermind I'm in, that you see the people doing things and the people with the experience see who's putting the work in. And so if you're out there and you're doing your part and you're doing the work, people have more confidence in you and they're like, "Hey, this guy's working at it. I want to work with him, or I want him on my team." Where the person who shows up and never says anything or just kind of expects things is not going to get the same response from the other people in the group. So that's great.
And it shows, right? And again, when you join a mastermind, it doesn't mean that you know already everything. Actually, that's why you're there, right? So again, don't be scared or don't have the imposter syndrome. Oh, I feel less than other people that have been here for a longer time. You're there for a reason, right? To contribute to them and to add value, right? So you're going to get there.
There were a couple of girls who joined our mastermind this year. And they came at it. They were like, "We want to replace our income." And it wasn't, maybe it is the doctor income. I don't know. They're not doctors, but so I don't know how much they're making. But they were like, "We want to replace our income in 1 year." And they were
aggressive
from the start, man. They were talking to bankers and brokers, and they were hammering deals and bringing deals to the group. And you're like, okay, they're not messing around. It was kind of inspiring. Like, wow, I'm kind of a lazy slug here. I'm not working very hard compared to them.
Yeah.
But
that
then people
happens.
are jumping on board. They're like, I'm going to help them succeed because
Yeah,
they're all in. And so
yeah,
it's an interesting thing, like you said, that you kind
yeah.
of get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's very exciting to see that other people are doing that, and then energizes you too, right? Like, I mean, it's like, oh, I mean, they are doing that. I mean, let's do that together and let's get to work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So so you joined the mastermind. That's really so your first syndication, you were a general partner and a limited partner in the
Yes,
same deal.
yes, yes, and actually, that's part of our Nima Equity or company's idea, right? Like, so we invest in every single deal or project that we go with our investors, like any general partner, right? Like, so we want to show that we have also skin in the game. We want to show that we have the best intentions also for the project to go well to return to our investors, right? Like, so yeah, we invest that.
What was your role in this first deal? Were you working, bringing money and kind of introducing the deal to other docs?
Yes. So as you know, like in syndications, unless you have like a special designation, you need to do a couple of things, not just to bring capital, like to the project, right? Like so we actually it was a couple of weeks after we joined the mastermind, and again, like we have been educating ourselves for more than 6 months by that time, right? Like so we heard about this project in Kansas City now, and so we jump in like in there, like and we went with other partners, and we went for the due diligence over there, right? Like so we were there for 2 days, and we were like again like inspecting every single unit and doing like an audit of the financials of the property and all of that, right? And then we put that together. I mean, of course, we were involved in the process of capital raising too, and after that we are involved like in weekly calls with the asset management team.
Okay. So that made a difference your time with your single family homes and when you were managing it, when you actually went to your so this was your first big
Yes,
apartment complex.
yes,
How big was this first one?
was a 158 unit class
Okay.
C property. Yes, yeah, a little bit of a difference from a single family home or a duplex, right?
Yeah. How was that experience as you jumped in that first time? Was it overwhelming or were you kind of working with people that you're like, okay, I've got experience on my side. I've got my job. I need to
Yes.
do my part.
Yes, yes. So again, like by that time, I mean, I was already educated about how these teams work in getting together for these kind of deals, right? Like, so even though it was my first one, even though you feel overwhelmed, like initially for the number of units, for all the process and the packet of the underwriting with so many variables, right? Like, I mean, like, I was feeling comfortable, like because I knew like the people in the team already, right? And I knew that each one of us have a different role in order like to make this successful, right? Like, so even though I'm part of the asset management calls, like there's someone who has the specific designation to do that as a duty, right? Like so again, like he is like a person who I usually say this to other people, like the asset manager in the deal needs to be someone who is in real estate as a professional and also who is doing this as a full-time like occupation because like in my case it wouldn't be possible, right? Like I'm doing medicine and other things, right? Like so yeah.
So did you find a property manager in Kansas City, or was it big enough that, it's self-run from within, that you have a management team on site?
Yes, yes. So in this kind of process, in this kind of big process or projects, when you have over 80 units, over 100 units, you have what is called like the economies of scale, right? Like, and because of that, you're able to pay a third party professional property management company to do all the work for you, right? I mean, you still need to have an asset manager, right? Like, so like the person who oversees the work of the property management company, right? But I mean, like it's way easier, right? Like because you are directing that company to do this or to do that, right? Like so, yeah. I mean, like and with this size of properties, they are able to put someone on site every day, like so they can handle. I mean, all the day to day problems.
So what else did they and this is I guess we haven't, mostly we're usually this program talking more about non-multifamily, but I
Oh,
think this is good because we're digging into this great part for people who are new to the whole thing.
yes,
So
yes,
the property manager, or the property manager often is doing a bit more than just lease up and collecting bills, like directing maintenance, and sometimes they're even doing some of the construction work for
yes.
if you're upgrading. So tell me a little bit more about when you found this property manager, was it somebody that your group already had done business with, or was there a process of finding the property manager?
Yes, and that's a very important part in the process of these deals, right? Like because if you think about, right, like the property manager and the asset manager are probably going to be the most important people in your deal after you buy the property. And that's the most important part, right? Because if you think about that, it's 3 to 5 to 7 years that they're going to be in charge of this property and the business plan, right? Like, so, yeah. So, I mean, as a group, we had another property that was very close by, right? Was 10 or 15 minutes away from this property. And that property had been greatly managed. So we hired like the same PM company. But just as a reference, so when we do underwriting, we usually ask for, again, like the projections and the assumptions to a third party company, which are usually like the property management companies, right? Like, and just to be on the safe side, we usually use 2 or 3 PM companies. So we have different ideas. Again, like, and we try to find like a balance or an average of what the projections are. Right. And when you select one of them is because again, like you have worked with them before or you feel comfortable or you know that they are professional or you know that they are deep like in the area and they have other assets in the area, so which helps a lot too, right? Like, so the company we hired was already in the area, was already managing one of our properties, right? Like of the mastermind or of the group. So we were very confident about that, right? Like, and that's very important, like because again, like they just don't do just the again like the collection of the rent, but they also do like again like any problem or that we have to do a small like repair or big like repair even. So we do that through them.
Okay, so somebody who is part of your general partnership this was your first big deal, but somebody else was already in a deal that had worked with them.
Yes,
And so
yes,
okay, so and so at this point, and I don't know if they've gone full cycle on this. So then once this goes, so this group is running everything for you pretty much in the day-to-day operations.
yes, yeah, yeah. Again, like so like the property management company is like the one who's running the day-to-day operations. The ones that are on site, the ones who direct also the construction or capex company that does the renovations, and they are like the ones who meet with us every single week to go over the business plan and to go over what has happened the week before.
Okay. And so within your group, there's one person who's the asset manager. Are they
Yes,
they're the primary contact with the property manager,
exactly.
but your entire GP group meets every week
Yeah,
to
yes,
discuss the
and
property?
yeah, I mean, of course, we try not to interrupt like the discussions, right? Like because like it's a very high yield conversation of half an hour to 1 hour. But then after that, if there's any questions, we communicate like between each other, right? Like which is like the way that we communicate.
Okay. So when you have that call, the primary asset manager is the person who's having most of the conversation
Exactly.
and everybody's listening in, unless
Yes.
there's something very specific. So it's more of just an update type meeting,
Yes.
hopefully. 'Cause
Yes.
sometimes when
Yeah, with the goods and bads, with highs and lows. Yeah, no, I mean, like, and for anyone, like, right, like, and being honest and transparent, right, like, who has been in commercial real estate, the last 10 years of commercial real estate were great, right, like, were the golden years of real estate. The last 2 years, we have had some headwinds, right, like like in terms of like the interest rates and also like the use of bridge loans and also how inflation has affected some expenses, right? Like insurance, like taxes, like labor, right? Like, and also like with the same fact that again, like in the last year, the rents have not gone up as crazy high as in the last 3 prior years, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, like there are always ups and downs and challenges, but again, like we try to again stick with our business plan. We try to again like to do the most important part, which is the asset management and the property management.
so you live in kind of the heart of, of what during the whole, especially apartment multifamily boom, everything was about Dallas, Fort Worth, or Atlanta, or Florida. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
Southeast, but
Yes.
and Dallas was where it was happening. So how does a group from Dallas end up buying a place in Kansas City?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So one of the things is that again, like that's why we have these big teams, right? Like so, and that's why for single family homes you can do that too. But I prefer to be very close to my properties for single family homes.
Hmm.
For because I'm the one who directly talks with the property manager. And again, like if there's something important, I go there and I can be there in 15 minutes or half an hour at most, right? For commercial real estate, first that you have the property management company that is on site, right? Like so that's your filter. And the second is that we usually try our asset manager to live close to the property. Like our team, I mean, or at least like the general partners who closed on that property, we were about like 7 people, right? So one of them is the one who lives closer to that area and can be there like very fast, actually, right? Like so, we try to leverage our team again, like and to find like a property where again, like one of us is closer to that area.
Okay. So out of your mastermind, it's not everybody's not in the Dallas area.
No,
It's a
no, no, no.
bigger
We're
group.
all over, all over the U.S.
Okay. Okay. We'll get back to our show in just a minute, but first I want to offer you an opportunity to accelerate your learning. My life changed and my ability to start becoming work optional changed when I gained the people and the knowledge to start investing in commercial real estate. One of the key people there was Ash Patel and joining his Invest Beyond Multifamily Mastermind. Well, that mastermind is no longer open, but for a fraction of the price, Ash has now made a course. And this is probably the most valuable set of information and quickest way to move along your learning curve. So if you are interested in actively investing in commercial real estate and retail and industrial and office, I would recommend this course to you. We're going to include a pre-sale link both in the show notes. It'll also be on the surgeonsyndicate.com website. And in your checkout, it'll save you another 1%. I know it's not a lot, but every little bit helps if you use the discount code Mike1487. If you're not interested in investing actively, give us a call here at Fortress Capital and let's talk about what your goals are as a passive investor. But it's time to stop listening, start acting, and let's move your future forward. All right. So let's just jump on. So when you started doing this and you're doing some of the capital raising with docs, what are some of the most common concerns you get from doctors when they're looking for the first time at real estate? Because most haven't done it.
Yes, yes. So one of the things is again like to have the trust again that you're doing something again like and you're putting all your effort in doing these projects, right? Like so for many people the term syndication is something new, right? And for any of us, like I mean actually it was something new for me 4 years ago, right? Like so and one of the things that I know and I understand is like people usually used to do or used to invest in things that they are familiar with and they feel comfortable with. And that's why when you hear about like a syndication in real estate, many people don't feel comfortable and they don't know what is that about. And because of that, they have certain concerns and right. So that's why like a lot depends on education, right? Like so again, like so they don't understand how this process works, how the business plan is taken care of, right? Like so and one of the things is again like I ask them like again as we talked at the beginning, like to be in sync with their partners or spouses, right? Like about this big investment actually, right? Like an investment that is going to stay for 5 to 7 years. Like and the second thing is that I usually give them a couple of things like just to think about before they invest, right? Like so things like so for example, like the investment is not liquid. If you're going to invest in a syndication, just think about that the investment is going to be there for 5 to 7 years, right? Like, so again, like if you have something to pay in the next year, or if you expect to buy a car or a house or something like that, it's maybe better like to think about if you have enough funds for that in the future. Like the second thing is that again, like it's expensive. I mean, it's not a small investment, right? Like it's still like for physicians like you or myself, the $50,000 or $75,000 or even more that some of these indications or projects you need to bring to the table is a big amount of money, right? And the other thing that I usually tell them is that again, like this is a passive investment, right? Like so for good or for bad, right? Like, so it's a passive investment where again, like they are not going to do like the day-to-day work. They don't need to take decisions, but at the same time, they are not going to be taking decisions. So there are many doctors or right, like or professionals who were very or like to be involved or right, like oh, I want to know what's going on here, and what about if we do this or this? No, I mean that's not going to happen, right? Like because you actually want a team of professionals to be managing this property. Right?
Yeah. What's the most so what's the longest time it's taken from a doc from the first time, they were introduced to the concept till when they finally invested? Have you had any that it was like a multi-year process of warming up to the whole thing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like what they usually say, I mean, it usually takes at least 7 points of contact to someone to trust you and also like to be educated in the field, right? Like so, no, I mean, like in my case, I think it has been like 9 months to a year where from when I met someone and there were a couple of communications and then like he saw me in different, I guess, like podcasts or events or like emails, right? Like we also have our newsletter and we also do educational like videos every week, right? Like so until like they decided to join us.
What do you find is the main reason that doctors decide they want to start looking at real estate syndications in your experience?
Yes, yes. So one of the reasons is again like they want to invest outside Wall Street, right? Like again, like even though we know stocks and bonds, we know mutual funds, all of that, if you think about you don't necessarily understand how that works, right? Like and how the market can go up and down very quickly with just one phone call and one tip of one of these guys in Wall Street, right? Like so that's one of the things that the lack of transparency that is like in stocks and bonds and mutual funds. Like the other thing is like again like they want to diversify, right? Like so I mean I'm always a proponent of diversification, right? Like not to put all your eggs like in just one basket. And I'm very transparent about that, like in the sense that I mean I always tell people, I mean real estate is a great investment, but it's another way to invest, right? Like again, like you can put some in stocks and mutual funds. You can do some like development, energy, ATMs, and even like real estate, and they like the idea.
Okay. And that's one of the great things, like you talked about, the volatility of the stock market and asset prices in real estate can be volatile, but during that time that the money's locked up, like you said, it's not liquid, that 5 to 7 years, if the property's being well managed and it was underwritten conservatively enough that you're looking at it and you're like, okay, so we've had inflation, we've had all this stuff, but you're in a great market in Kansas City and everybody's still paying their rent. If you don't have to sell right then, it still churns off money just like it did, that your actual day to day interest rates go from 3% to 7%, but what it does every day doesn't change. And if you got, some things built in that you can see, yes, your expenses can go up, but then sometimes rent can go up too. But it's a nice thing in a way to know that it doesn't fluctuate as fast as,
Yes,
one bad earnings report from a company, and all of a
yes.
sudden there goes 20% of your value. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always make this comment, right? Like the good or bad thing about being an illiquid investment is like again, like when the stocks go up or down or when they dive, right? Many times we tend to make emotional decisions, and that's not the best thing to do. In real estate, even in syndications, right? Your money is locked in. So if the market changes, and also you being a passive investor, you're not exposed to that, right? Like so you're leaving that to the professional who's doing that management.
yeah, and it's kind of nice that you can't wake up at 3 a.m. and go sell your portfolio. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so you
That's
don't do it. So
correct.
you sleep at 3 a.m. instead of waking up
Yes.
worrying
Yeah.
about what just happened.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah. Hasn't happened to me. And knock on wood.
it's it's just one of those things like, you hear something like you didn't even want to hear it. It starts churning in your mind and you're like, oh no, should I be getting out of this investment? Is it time to sell my stocks
Yeah.
or whatever? And it can be a tough thing
Yeah.
for some people to
Yeah.
not want to, as you said, react emotionally at the wrong time rather
Exactly.
than sticking with the plan. And if you make a nice choice when you're a well-educated decision when you're investing, part of the great thing about being a passive investor is you commit it to a 5-year plan, and then when that money comes out, when the syndication sells the building or sells the property and it comes full cycle, that doesn't happen all at once. That's a process of it being sold, and you get that money back when it comes back. And you're probably already doing this process of educating on where you're going to put it next. And so there's less of this push that you go to eat lunch in the doctor's lounge and CNBC is on and they're talking about something
Yep.
chaotic happening in the
Yep.
world that makes you wonder, am I going to be able to retire? So
Exactly. Yeah. That's too much stress. Yes.
so for docs who come to you for the first time and they're like, Harry, what is this that you're doing with this real estate? And is it a good idea? What's the most important thing they should know if they're considering this for the first time?
Yes, yes. So something important for my wife and I is that we always want people to educate themselves before they invest in any of our projects, our deals, like because we want them to know really good what they're going into, right? Like, I mean, it's a great investment, it's a great vehicle, but we want them to understand like the process, right? Like, so again, like they don't have any regrets or concerns at the end. So like the second thing is that we also want to build trust with them, right? Like again, like we have a business plan, we believe like we do a good underwriting with our partners, right? However, again, like life happens, right? Like, and things can go great or bad, right? Like, but at the end of the day, again, like we are in the same team. We try to go to the same goal, right? Like, so even if there's a problem, we try to address as a general partner, but also thinking more in our limited partners or in our investors and try the best thing for them. And the last thing is there are so many ways to invest in real estate, and on that part, I'm very honest, like with them, right? Like again, like there are so many ways, and there are so many sponsors like myself, right? Like you have options there, right? Like I mean, if you're passionate, if you think you have time, try to do it yourself, maybe, right? Like start with a single family home as myself, right? Like and try like to work from there. But if you prefer not to be involved, or you don't have time, or you're in your career with your family that you feel is not like the perfect timing, yeah, I mean, like the syndications on our company, or like doctors like ours, like us, are good options too.
Have there ever been a time where somebody came to you and you decide and you told them you're like, I don't think this is the right thing for you right now.
Yes. Yes. A couple of times. I mean, actually, there was one person who told me, hey, yeah, I mean, like, I'm very interested in investing, but I think I don't have enough money in this moment. I think I'm going to get a loan for that. Like I said, like, no, don't do that, please. I mean, I wouldn't be sleeping well at night on that. And the second time was when someone was asking many times about, yes, but I'm going to get like the 7% every year, right? Like and like on this timing and on this timing, and it's gonna be like a sure thing that we're gonna get like the seven like the return on investment or something like that. Like, and I said like yes, but again, like it's an investment, right? Like, and that's the definition of investment. You are not lending me money, right? Like again, like if you lend someone money, absolutely, yeah, you're gonna have like the exact amount of money and the exact date, right? Like, and you're not gonna miss that, but in business, it can go better, it can go worse, it can go the same, right? Like so, it's something like that person needed a little bit more education on investment.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about as we're getting close to the end. So you guys use a YouTube channel for your investor relations for education. Tell me a bit more about the YouTube channel.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Yeah, so we started this channel about 2 years ago, right? Like initially as part of the syndication business, right? Like, but it has grown a little bit more than that, right? Like, and in the sense that again, like as you probably have experience with other doctors, many of us still like a lot of financial education. So we try to implement that in our channel too. And many of us, also need also probably a little bit words of encouragement too, right? Like along the way, like because our jobs are difficult and demanding and stressful sometimes, right? Like so we try to combine these things now. And what started like as a commercial real estate education, it has gone to single family homes, also to finance, and also like to mindset. So yeah, no, I mean it's something that we really enjoy, that we are very passionate about that. Like I think it serves like a purpose and also like a service like to other people that want to listen to that.
So it's got a bit more of a full scale financial education, not just an investor portal.
Yes, yes,
So
absolutely.
where would somebody find you on YouTube?
Yes, yes. I mean, it's the channel has the name of our company. It's Nima Equity, right? Nima is N as in Nancy, IMA Equity, and in YouTube, and you're gonna find us there.
All right. And so you have a new ebook?
Yes,
So,
yes. So we actually have that ebook that is coming very soon, right? Like so, we have our and probably by the time we release this interview, I mean it's going to be there out there, right? Like
awesome.
so,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean it's just like a general guide about how to invest in commercial real estate, the advantages of that, and also some definitions, right? Like so because like not everyone can invest in these kind of projects, right? Like and it's important always to know like the definitions like between an accredited investor and a sophisticated investor. So yeah, no, I mean there's
And that's great because
something
that's
good.
one of those things I think is if somebody's new to this and it can be overwhelming and some docs, because they're busy, will, because I've seen this, will start into the education and then just stop. They get overwhelmed and they're like, yeah, I was going to do that, but I couldn't understand it. And it's not that much because I remember when I started and people are talking about, you got the capital stack and a waterfall and a passive investor and and a
That's too many
syndicator
definitions.
and there's all these definitions exactly, but it's a little bit of time on a regular basis and all of a sudden it all comes together. And if anybody's a doctor, we've memorized enough stuff that it's
Sure.
not that hard. I think Joe Fairless tells the story about he made a bunch of flashcards. And so when he was in his advertising job and riding the train to work in New York City, he would go through his flashcards until he understood all the terms
That's
and they
awesome.
made sense. So
That's very
there's
good.
there's lots of different ways to do it. I think I took Joe Fairless's book and I just listened to it over and over again until I knew the next line of the book coming before it was even there. And then I was like, okay, I think I understand this now, this whole crazy process.
Yeah,
So, but
that's
that's
great.
great that you got that ebook out there because it gives people a chance. And I would tell anybody who's thinking about this, if it feels overwhelming, it's not really that much. And with a little bit of regular effort, it'll come together and it'll make sense. And I think it can be more overwhelming as a doc just because we haven't most of us didn't take finance classes in college. And so all the terms are crazy. And it's almost like, back to first year of medical school. I guess it was probably different for you. When I started medical school, I'd been out of college for a few years. And so it was like back to the dictionary, like every book, like read a line, look up 3 words, read a line, look up 3 words.
Yeah,
It's that
that's
same thing, but with some effort, it will all come together for you. We'll put all your social media links in the show notes. So we got your Facebook community, LinkedIn, YouTube, and your web channel, nimaequity.com. Anything else you would like our listeners to know before we wrap it up today?
no, absolutely. No, again, like Michael, thank you so much again for having me your show. I really had a great time. So yeah, I mean like happy to continue this conversation like in the future too and to continue in contact.
Awesome. Thank you. It's been great having you here. Thank you for coming on and sharing with our guests and for sharing with our listeners. And for all our listeners out there, you have your information there if you want to get in touch with Harry. Harry, thank you for being here. Our listeners, thank you for joining us on Surgeon Syndicate, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. We'll get back to our show in just a minute, but first I want to offer you an opportunity to accelerate your learning. My life changed and my ability to start becoming work optional changed when I gained the people and the knowledge to start investing in commercial real estate. One of the key people there was Ash Patel and joining his Invest Beyond Multifamily Mastermind. Well, that mastermind is no longer open, but for a fraction of the price, Ash has now made a course. And this is probably the most valuable set of information and quickest way to move along your learning curve. So if you are interested in actively investing in commercial real estate and retail and industrial and office, I would recommend this course to you. We're going to include a pre-sale link both in the show notes. It'll also be on the surgeonsyndicate.com website. And in your checkout, it'll save you another 1%. I know it's not a lot, but every little bit helps if you use the discount code Mike1487. If you're not interested in investing actively, give us a call here at Fortress Capital, and let's talk about what your goals are as a passive investor. But it's time to stop listening, start acting, and let's move your future forward. This has been an episode of Surgeon Syndicate. If you got value from this episode, you know other surgeons are hungry to become job optional, and you can help them by sharing this content today. Schedule a call and we can make a plan. Looking forward to having you with me on the next episode.